All right, Nick, let's talk about the Georgia Bulldogs. The season is just right around the corner. We have seen the training camps, we've seen the offseason, we've seen practices, seen some spring ball, and now we have some guys that are really looking like standout players coming into this season, transfers, recruits, everything that are going to be really, really good. But there's one guy in particular I think that was added to this Georgia roster this season that I think is going to be a true standout on this team and make a big, big impact.
Yeah, Miles, I could not agree more. This young playmaker, this new Georgia Bulldog, is raising all kind of the right attention as we get ready for the regular season, which leads me directly to my question today for you Georgia fans to answer, as always, in the comment section below. Give us your breakout candidate. Look, the regular season a few days away. A lot of new additions on the squad. Obviously, a lot of players went professional and finished their time up with Georgia after last season's title run. A lot of new guys have to step up. So in the comment section below, give us your breakout candidate, the new guy on the Georgia Bulldogs roster that's going to have a huge impact for the 2023 season. All right, Miles, what you got? What's the latest update out of Athens?
Yeah, Nick, this guy, the one we're talking about in particular, truly just shows the definition of looks can be deceiving. He may not be the biggest, he might be the tallest, but this is a guy who is a heck of an athlete, a very good player, and when he transferred to Georgia from Missouri, he proved to be a day one impact player. I'm talking about Dominic Lovett. This guy is truly a special player, and it's looked like he has really started to come into his own this offseason at Georgia. Let's get into the article, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. This is from 24/7 Sports. They had a list of their 10 training camp standouts of the 2023 season. Of course, Lovett made that list. It said the two-time reigning national champion Georgia has its new starting quarterback in Carson Beck. And with the running back still a concern for the Bulldogs, transfer wide receiver Dominic Lovett is living up to expectations in the passing game at his new home. Lovett was an all-SEC second-team selection last season after hauling in 56 passes for 846 yards and 3 touchdowns. His transition to Georgia appears to be seamless as the Bulldogs add more depth to the receiving corps. Lovett ranks as the number 9 overall transfer prospect and the number 3 wide receiver in the 2023 portal cycle. Nick, I think this guy truly has the opportunity to be something special for Georgia. This is a team that just lives, dies, and breathes talent, and he has the ability to come out here and shine and just show how special of a player he is. Like I said, he may not be the most physically gifted receiver at 5'10", 175. He has a little bit of weight that he could add on, and maybe he'll grow, probably not. But, 5'10" isn't necessarily breaking any records for the tallest receiver out in the field. But this guy has some skills that really make him dangerous. He can make great cuts. He is awesome at getting acceleration and burst, great separation off of the snap. This guy has all of the abilities to do anything a top tier receiver would want to do without necessarily the size, but I think that is something that he really can adjust for because this guy is a heck of a football player. And at the end of the day, that's all that really counts. But Nick, what do you think about Lovett and his early success with Georgia in the preseason?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely critical. And it's not just Lovett who's off to a strong start. And I think he will continue to parlay that into season. I'm excited to see. And so far, there's been a lot of great reports about the Georgia playmakers. I know the running backs are a question mark, but a lot of the receiving talent and tight end talent, I'm looking at Brock Bowers as an animal. Like he's an incredible football player, one of the best players, maybe arguably the best all-around player potentially in the country. But the main point I want to focus here is that any time you're trying to transition as a program, like Georgia's at a level that very few programs get to, whether college or pro, where you go from short-term title run and you're trying to pull that into dynasty mode. That's what the Georgia Bulldogs are facing right now. Great back-to-back titles. Everything's fantastic. Chance to potentially win more. But now they need to focus and build their program for the long-term success of becoming a dynasty. And let's go back to the Nick Saban Alabama Crimson Tide as a great example of this. The Alabama Crimson Tide under Saban, their first few titles, believe their first 3 titles were on the back of strong defense. Great defensive line, great running game. They were winning games. I remember they beat LSU like 21-0 in the college football national championship game, right? It was that kind of football, defensive football, a lot of elite defensive talent. Very similar to what Georgia has done in the last couple of seasons overall in terms of stylistically. How did Alabama have long-term success following that? They transitioned to a defensive-first football team into a football team that surrounds elite quarterbacks with incredible playmakers. That's how Alabama has maintained their long-term success. Let's switch to the NFL. The New England Patriots, very same way. First 3 Super Bowl titles under Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, they were defense first. After that, they transitioned from that into a quarterback-focused, offensive playmaker focus. From Randy Moss, Wes Welker, Rob Gronkowski, you name it, they became an offensive football team and then extended the run into a dynasty. You see in college football programs that don't do that, right? You look at the Clemson Tigers. They had a really good run there. They're in the mix of it for a while, but the last couple of years they've fallen off because they haven't had the playmakers on offense, at least not national title level playmakers, and therefore they could not extend their short-term success they had there with Dabo Swinney into a dynasty. Georgia getting the playmakers it needs to surround their new young quarterback is critical for them to reach that target. I think this is the biggest thing to watch this season. And I know there's a lot of things to look on, and I know their defense is still incredibly talented. And overall, roster-wise, they're a top 3 program in the country, bare minimum, probably number 1, to be totally honest. But to me, if they can reach that level of offensive playmakers, skill levels, the way Alabama did, the way Clemson did not, the way the New England Patriots did accomplish in the NFL, they could transition into a great 3-4 year run into a dynasty. And we see it already in the recruiting prospect with how they've recruited the quarterback position and the receiver position for 2024 and beyond. But if they can get some of these transfers to start that process now, that would be a great sign that the Georgia Bulldogs will be able to make that transition.